Organism definition with duality and inverse causality. Duality. Duality is a tool to understand a particle which is organic enough that it has maximum entanglement entropy. After a particle is organic enough so the network happens among the entire body of particles, then the particle has duality, which means two contrary properties are true in one system. The system can be well understood within feedback system. Feedback system is a good tool to understand duality. Entropy. Entanglement entropy is a good tool to measure how much two regions are entangled. The maximum entropy is limited, which is the value for duality to exist. And I'll show that what is entanglement entropy. Consider a quantum system that is divided into A and B, two parts such that the full Hilbert space can be represented as the tensor product of the Hilbert spaces of A and B. A typical wave function of this system is psi. In each A and B and the state psi are entangled, since psi cannot be written as a simple product of those A and B. Entanglement entropy is a measure to quantify how much A and B are entangled. Define the reduced density matrix of A by tracing of a B state is in psi. Then entanglement entropy is defined as this. From the definition, an obvious corollary is this. Indeed, for any pure state psi, we can always write it as this. By geometric composition of psi into some complete set of S A and B, it follows that SA is SB. For AB composite system in a mixed state, in general we have SS not SB. In such a case, entanglement entropy typically contains classical statistical correlation of the mixed state in addition to quantum correlations. Here are some examples. A two-spin system. You can have a state that is not entangled. However, the state is entangled. For this state, the reduced density matrix for A is this shows entanglement entropy is this. We see entanglement A has period of this. The minima are SA is 0 when theta is n pi over 2 and maxima are SA is log 2 when theta is n pi over 2 plus pi over 4 where n is integer. A maxima of state psi is most integer. We list some important properties of entanglement entropy as follows. Suppose A, B, C are three parts of the system without any intersection between any two of them. We have subadditivity and strong subadditivity. Entanglement entropy plays an important role in quantum information and quantum computation as it provides quantitative measure of quantum correlations that are not present classically. Entanglement entropy in many-body systems. Consider a system AB if Hamiltonian is H equals HA plus HB, then the ground state is unentangled. Moreover, starting with a general unentangled state, the system will remain unentangled. If we add coupling between A and B, H is HA plus HB plus HAB, then the ground state is generally entangled. Thirdly, starting with an initial unentangled state, entanglement will be generated during time evolution. In all realistic condensed matter systems and quantum field theories, HAB is local. Heisenberg model and 5/4 powers quantum field theory. Locality implies that the interaction only happens near the interface of A and B. So HAB only inverts degree of freedom near DA and DB. This has important implications. Locality of interactions. One finds in general in the ground state for a local Hamiltonian, entanglement entropy is given by this, where epsilon is the lattice spacing for CM system or short distance cutoff for quantum field theory, which characterizes the geometric width of interface. This formula shows that entanglement entropy between A and B is dominated by short-range entanglement near DA, where HAB is supported, while sexing appears to be universal, sharp is not. Depending on short-distance physics of specific systems, for the subleading order terms, the excitement of last decade on entanglement entropy shows that they come from large-range entanglement and can provide important characterization of a system. Characterize topological order 2 plus 1 dimension in typical gap systems. Ground state contains only short-range correlations. In topological order systems, ground state contains long-range correlation and not accessible via standard observables such as correlation functions of local operators. The entanglement entropy for such a system is this, where gamma is not zero is topological order, a constant independent of shape and size of A. To characterize the number of degree of freedom of a quantum field theory for a 1 plus 1 dimensional CFT, there's no leading contribution, and one finds this where C is central charge and L is the length of A. We know C contains the information of number of degree of freedom of a 2-dimensional CFT via Cardi formula. For 2 plus 1 dimensional CFT, one finds this where gamma, depending on the shape of A, can be used to characterize the number of degree of freedom. Similar results can be found in other dimensions. Holographic entanglement entropy. Suppose we have a CFT with a gravity dual. How can we calculate entanglement entropy on the gravity side? As shown in the picture below, we propose to find the minimal area surface of gamma which extends into the bulk with dA as boundary, and entanglement entropy is given by this. This formula was first guessed by Liu and these who were motivated by black hole entropy. Minimal area. There are some support for this formula. One, satisfy the strong subjectivity conditions. Two, reproduce known results about entanglement entropy. 3. Give many new results that are sensible. While easy to define, entanglement entropy is very complicated to compute for a general many-body system. Even for a free quantum field theory, the computation is highly non-trivial and often numerical calculations are needed. RT provides a very simple way to compute entanglement entropy in a class of strongly interacting quantum field theory. Here are proofs of strong subjectivity. In figure 3a, we can classify this. And by definition of minimal surface, which implies this. In figure 3b, we also have this. And by definition of minimal surface, this, which implies this. Now we can apply this formula to 1 plus 1 dimensional CFT whose duality is 3, where the matrix is. We know each CFT is characterized by a central charge C, density of state, and the trace normally gives this, where R is Ricci scalar. For holographic CFT, the central charge is given by this. On the gravity side, like Wilson rule, we consider constant time slice where the matrix is assume the minimal surface is a function of xc. The differential length of the surface is this, consider right half is this, and extreming it leads to the random answer, the half circle with C0. Finally, we get entanglement entropy, where epsilon is the cutoff to regularize the divergence. Clearly, this result agrees with the calculation from CST. In finite temperature, we may discuss the connection to black hole entropy. Consider the CFT on the circle. We should recover black hole entropy if we take A to be the whole boundary space between by definition. Because by definition, as the thermal entropy, and in this case, the reduced density matrix is the same as the real density matrix of A. Indeed, graphically, the minimal surface is just black hole horizon and black hole entropy is recovered. Generally, if the minimal surface is always perpendicular to boundary, area law can be proved in edges in arbitrary dimensions. RT formula not only provides the simple way to calculate entanglement entropy, but more importantly, it implies some connection between spacetime and geometrization of quantum entanglement, geometry, and quantum information. In the end, we may expect a unified paradigm. Firewall principle. A black hole firewall is a hypothetical phenomenon where an observer falling into a black hole encounters high-energy quanta at the event horizon, though it actually encounters very cold space, so those control events are both true near surface of black hole. The firewall phenomenon was proposed in 2012 by physicist Ahmed Diswas as a possible solution to an apparent inconsistency in black hole complementarity. The use of a firewall to resolve this inconsistency remains controversial, with high-energy physicists divided as to the solution to the paradox. observations provided tentative evidence of a fire or of some other phenomenon that in extreme cases seems to violate relativity. Example 2. UV divergence and IR divergence. Let's prove UV divergence and IR divergence. Uh, the bulk of black hole has volume divergence. The next equation is about ADS spacetime metric of a black hole's bulk. Local prop time and local prop length z are like this. Relation between energy and distance in boundary and bulk is following, where Yang-Mills energy is proportional to 1 per z and Yang-Mills distance is proportional to z. So we have this relation, and we can conclude near singularity is still infinite energy, which means dz can go to 0, and z is an open set. And this is homeomorphic to infinite lengths. Example 3. Electron has wave and particle property. Wave-particle duality. Waves could behave as particles, photons of light. Similarly, matter particles, electrons, could behave as a wave. Example 4. The surface of black hole. For observer, the subject who is entering the black hole looks like staying still, even though the subject has already entered into a black hole. So two contrary events can be observed at the same time. Example 5. ADS-CFT correspondence theory. Within ADS-CFT correspondence theory, the information can be recorded as CFT and ADS. ADS is about gravity, which is related to particle, and CFT is about surface, which is related to wave. Now I'll explain the CFT correspondence. In the ADS-CFT correspondence, the gravity of bulk, which is expressed as ADS5, is expressed as a wave information of the boundary, which is expressed as CFT. And there should be a homeomorphic correspondence between ADS5 and CFT. And the way to show this relation is same as the way we prove as 3D is 5-dimensional. When particle gets into black hole, it has a topology of a surface of sphere multiplied by hyperbola. It means a particle gets absorbed by gravity, which explains hyperbolic topology, and particle has a wave effect, which explains spherical topology. Black hole topology. In this way, particle has a mechanical energy as wave energy and gravity energy. So gravity energy can be expressed as wave energy, and wave energy can be expressed as gravity energy, which is ADS-CFT correspondence theory. And this uses spherical system when it is about wave energy, and this uses hyperbolic topology when it's about volume divergence. So this is same as the way I proved DS3D is 4-dimensional. To the contrary event about particle and wave, ADS-CFT, quantum and gravity can be possible. As you can see, if something is entangled in maximum, then they have duality in many properties. But in our nature, there are so many objects which are organic, then does the duality happen at those objects? No. But when two events are organic enough to have enough entanglement entropy, there are causality and inverse causality between them. Within inverse causality, we can expand the concept of duality, which means organic relation. The concept of inverse causality. This is the concept of feedback where two kinds of period exist, procession from A to B, procession from B to A. If first one is causality, then second one is inverse causality. And you can define inverse causality as organic relation. So when you see inverse causality, you can conclude it is organic relation. I will show that if two events are organic, the inverse causality should be true between those two events. If two events are organic enough, when we see one event, we can say the other event may happen. So within enough time, when one event happens, the other event may happen in a short time. So organic relation means inverse causality, so those are the same. Maximum organic relation has a duality. Organic relation has a causality and inverse causality. Organic is proportional to the entanglement entropy, which means a lot of network happens inside. As a conclusion, organic relation involves inverse causality, and when there is maximum organic relation, causality and inverse causality happens at the same time, and we can call it as duality. This is the definition of organic in modern physics. So this is the definition of organic relation in oriental medicine. Within this definition, we can see true causality. So come to our hospital. This would cure your any symptom and disease. This is panacea.